This is Mark Ponzio coming to you from BCC Studios. We're here to go over a match between David and Madison. This was from our most recent event on December 9th, 23. Madison's a relative newcomer to the club, but David's been featured in some videos before. Here they get things underway with regular volley here. It looks like Madison wins, and she tells David that he's going to start. So let's see how it goes. David likes to take his time setting up his shots here, and he goes a little long on that one. Madison turns around and tries to hit it. She does manage to knock it out of the house a little bit and get herself a little close to the hole, probably a little closer than she wants. David's sizing up his shot to sort of take advantage of that. I think he's looking for a little touch 20 off the center. There it is. He nailed it just right there, so that puts David up a little bit. Madison's going for the only piece on the table. She does a nice little clear and tucks her piece in tightly to a peg. David's going for one inside the house, gets a clear, ends up outside of the house, which is good strategy. He wants to be away from the center as much as he can to hold on to his one-shot advantage or 120 advantage. Madison sort of clears David into the house, upgrading his point value on that piece. Not really ideal. David's able to clear the next one, doing pretty good there. He's still kind of in the advantaged position. Madison's looking for maybe a 20 or some sort of in-off. Yeah, and she ends up hitting a peg there. Not ideal, but she's still got plenty of shots left to sort of turn this around, and David comes up with a huge error, knocking his own piece out, actually two of his own pieces out. Again, Madison's just going to kind of clear and sort of stick to her side. They're currently tied if you look at the points on the board and in the 20 cup. Of course, Madison's points aren't yet tied in yet, nailed in yet, but David clears one but loses his shooter. Would have been better if he'd kept that on, because then Madison would have been forced to kind of aim to the outside. But here, if she can get this 20, she'll be in a good spot. She does manage to stay in the house and get a valid shot. Now she's got 25 on the board. David's looking to clear that and stick on the board somewhere. And he just barely managed to stick out in the 5, which is really good, because that makes it very difficult for Madison to pull a piece back. She misses that first shot completely. David mistakenly thinks that he's done with all his shots, but realizes he's got one more there. And then he's going to try and shoot through the house and nail that green one. The situation, unfortunately, is exactly the same. She has a very hard time. She would have to bounce all the way back into the 10 zone, as they're realizing right now, just to make a tie. So it's unlikely, but let's see what she can do. David getting a bit of friendly advice in there. He advises her to get waxed up or dusted up for that one, and ends up essentially losing the piece, so David wins the round. Here we go, starting with Madison on the second round. She goes long on her 20 shot. Let's see how David comes back on this one. Goes really hard and ends up losing both pieces. Madison for her second open 20 here, and she nails it. So she's up in the same sort of advantage position David was last time. David manages to catch up and keep right along with her. She overshoots the house on that one, a little bit of a Super Steve. Now David has a chance to pull ahead if he can nail the 20 with this shot. There he is, he does. He's got the hammer and one extra 20. So Madison has to make something happen here. She did not get the 20, but she's not in terrible position. It would have to be some sort of follow-through for him to kind of score this. And he does do a follow-through, but ends up going off in the wrong direction and out in the 10. Now, Madison's job here is either to hide or to sort of follow through. She manages a reasonable shot, but doesn't quite clear David's red. And David's going to come through the house and knock out Madison's green. Now Madison has that same shot back there. Again, she's having a hard time getting that piece off the board. She does clear it out to the 5, which is good, but not quite enough. David comes through a little bit of Hogan's Alley off to the side there, clears Madison's piece, and Madison's looking to try and get that 20 maybe, but ends up hitting a peg on the way in. Now David has a chance to get a 20 here. He sort of opts to just park it right in the middle, which is not terrible. It makes it a little harder for Madison to get a 20 because she's got two pieces to move. She does a decent job of pushing them both out of the house, but it's not going to be enough with that extra 20 Dave has. Dave comes through Hogan's Alley again, clears Madison's shot, and ends up taking the second round. So as of this moment, David's up 4-0. David leads off this round here and goes right through the house. All right, Madison's response is an open 20, putting her up with the 20s and having hammer, which is a good spot to be in. David shoots a little bit off to his right. Madison's going to drop to her right and see if she can't do a kind of a follow-through 20. Ends up hitting a peg. No luck there, but she's still holding on to a decent lead with that 20. And I think David's blocking himself more than anything with this shot. Yeah, he kind of goes a little too far and a little too far off to the left. Madison clears nicely and hides behind David's piece. He's got to kind of duck around to his left to get at that green one. And he does a decent clear there. He's got two pieces sitting in the 15, which puts him at technically advantaged. Oh, but that on-the-board advantage just went away as Madison cleared one out. David's turning around again, see if he can go and knock out Madison's. Good. Now we have, again, David's in the same advantage position, but Madison has hammer in this round, so she's very likely to be able to win that way. She also just clears and gets a beautiful 20 off of a piece, which was just a great shot. We'll probably see that one again in the highlights. David's going for an open 20. He manages a 20. Great. He's right in the middle. Madison still has a nice advantage with that 20 she got, though. David's catching up a little, but he's still behind a bit, and he's only got 2 shots left. Tried to follow through, and he got it going in the right direction, just didn't put enough on it to sink it. Now Madison's going to try and knock it out there. She does have one more shot. It would be very unlikely for David to take the win, even if he gets to 20. All Madison needs in this position is the valid shot if David gets to 20. If David misses the 20, she doesn't have to do anything. And very gracious of David to explain that to her, and she realizes he's correct and just throws the piece away as she does not need to shoot to win that round. All right, so it's 4 David, 2 to Madison. Madison opens with another 20. She's been warming up as the game goes along. David's response here. And he nails a 20 himself. So I think both these players are doing pretty good with their 20s lately. There's another one for Madison. It's beginning to be a bit of a 20s race here. David overshoots, though. He goes a little too far right and maybe a little too hard on that one. Madison clears it and just sits. She does have an advantage of the extra 20 right now, so she's happy to play on her side of the board. She's probably just going to clear this out. Ooh, she hit a peg and sort of left it in the house, but not the worst situation. Let's see what David does to answer this. Ooh, he ends up knocking his own piece out. Boy, that did kind of throw his whole plan off. Now she's going to try and get a 20 from the side. She didn't quite get it, but she left her piece slightly on her side of the board and not quite right next to the hole, so it wasn't a terrible spot. Let's see what David can do with this. There is an angle in there. He almost got it. Then it looks like the rebound off the piece he bumped out of the way kind of redirected his red. And then Madison manages a nice little touch 20, which just sort of pads her 20 cup and helps her maintain her advantage. David's reaching into her side of the territory, manages to clear, but he makes the age-old mistake of draining his opponent's piece. And boy, man, there's nothing worse than when you're losing to be really losing because you scored points for your opponents. And then Madison just clears another shot, and at this point, it is insurmountable for David. She just has to essentially do nothing. She could throw her piece away at this point. But she manages to clear David's, and David cannot make 2 20s or 3 20s even out of one shot. So Madison's going to take the match. Excellent round. Heated up as the match went on. Two very, very solid competitors here in finishing up their round-robin match. So they're just checking over their scorecards. Gracious thank you and goodbyes. And now here we are with the highlights from this match. David tucks a nice little touch 20 in there. I think Madison has a similar touch 20 right here, but she gets the clear, which is great. Madison gets a touch 20 off to the side. That was a technically challenging shot there, but she got it. I just want to say thank you for following along with the BCC. If you're interested, you can see the links below and follow along with our various social media and other websites. We'd love to have you at one of our next matches.